Hello and welcome to another episode of Bike Social Full Chat. I'm Michael Mann, and joining me today we've got two very special guests. Chris Newbold is here as our social media guru. He's the guy behind the social media if you're ever interacting with Bennetts and BikeSocial. He'll also be the guy in the pit lane this season in British Superbike, so he'll be filling up your timelines. And you'll recognise this dude, James Whitham. James, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to have a little chat about British Superbikes for 2018 with a new title sponsor, Bennetts. We know them. Let's start with a bit of a recap though of last year, 2017. A cracking season with a fairy tale ending, going right down to the wire. 10 different winners. It was amazing. James, what made
Yeah,
it
I think
good?
for me as well, what the interesting thing from 17 was 10 different winners in terms of people, but 6 different winners in terms of manufacturers. And that to me says that the technical regs in BSB are about right. You're always going to get that in the UK because the circuits are so diverse. So somebody who's likely to be quick at somewhere like Knockhill isn't likely to be quick at somewhere fast flowing, maybe Thruxton. So you're going to get different winners. But it was a cracking season, yeah.
Noobs, you agree?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was at most of ours last year and just couldn't get enough of it. And the final round at Brands Hatch, I mean, what a showdown that was. And yeah, I don't think you could have wrote a better story for Haslam and Byrne, the final race. It's more this year. Hopefully, that's what I want to see.
So. And there's plenty of underachievers, overachievers. You're gonna get that with any kind of race season. But where did Jake Dixon come from, for example?
I expected Jake to be quicker than what people thought he would be. He'd had a little bit of a tryout on the Superbike the season before and gone really well on it, albeit he'd hurt himself a couple of times on it as well. Through no fault of his own, I have to say. Knockhill, he got hit by somebody who really shouldn't have been where it was, and then the brakes failed at Bolton Park at the top of the hill there. And I think that's what ended up finishing his season. But Jake, I thought was going to be quick. He's had his moments in Supersport have been super quick, and he's kind of the stature of a Superbike rider, and he's scared of nothing and very confident. So I expected him to go pretty well, and I was impressed with him.
What about the likes of Luke Mossy as well? A great start to the season, and then accident at Thruxton kind of kiboshed that, right?
Yeah, and that was a worse accident than what anybody thought. I mean, it looked hideous. I remember the shots we saw initially of him disappearing over the line upside down, and there's not so much runoff there, and that's about probably about 130 miles an hour, and that essentially wrecked his season. And he just, I think, took a little bit of a while to get his confidence back. But I expect him to be somewhere near this year.
And who was strong last year? Who was strong last year on your mind? Who perhaps you didn't think that would be?
I mean, there was a range of people last year. I mean, Hickman, he's shown for quite a few seasons that he's been thereabouts, particularly on the roads as well. He had a great season, but he come through into the Showdown, sort of boiled off at the end of the season when the Showdown sort of commenced, but he'll be up there again this year and hopefully for another great season.
I agree. Hickman is really the best all round in terms of roads and circuit racing, the best rider we've got. Fantastic at them all, doesn't fall off, gets stuck in, doesn't complain. You never see him throwing his helmet about in the garage. He's a good solid rider who really enjoys his racing. Overachievers last year, I would say for me, would be Brad Ray. Had a cracking season. Clean sheet of paper. He had no point of reference as far as superbikes, but again, didn't complain. Never once heard him say, "Well, it's a new bike, and we're having to do this, and we haven't got any parts yet. The new swing arm hasn't arrived." None of that. Got on, put his visor down, off he went, and was really impressive.
And got a podium.
Yeah.
At Bolton Park, very impressive. I mean, we're hoping that again this year. Hopefully, if he can just keep his head down, it's his second season, so. Last season there was no pressure on him. This season, might be. I think he might put a bit more on himself, but all he's got to do is just, try and finish.
Which he did.
Yeah,
and got a podium, which was brilliant. But if he couldn't get a podium, it was 5th and 6th and 4th, and just a brilliant season. And didn't jump off. Superbikes, when you jump up from another class, especially when you're at the age of young, like Brad Ray, dead easy to fall off. Really easy to get it wrong and start crashing. We've seen loads of riders come through from Super Stock 6 and Super Sport class up to Superbike and just not be able to handle the power, crash a little bit. Then they try a bit harder because they need a result and they crash a bit more, and it's a sort of downward spiral. But Brad Ray have completely the opposite. Really good approach.
Do you think, obviously, because he was he had his 1 to 5 days, really good on a Supersport 600 bike, come up to the 1000 as well. You say it's like this way of riding a superbike. You have to pick it up out the corners, drive. Has he just picked that up really quickly, or has he also brought in some of his 600 skill sets?
You look at his corner speed, and I think he had really big corner speed, and that sounds like a really a real advantage, but actually it isn't on a superbike.
No, yeah.
You want to be getting the thing stop, squaring it off, and then getting on. The longer you can stay on the throttle, or the earlier you can get the throttle up, and the faster you're going to be going. So he's going to have to get out of that super sport kind of rolling through the corners mode, but he seemed to be doing that pretty well to me.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to 2018 then. A section we'll call Movers and Shakers. It's good. So first of all, let's have a little look at the guys who have moved different with teams
Within Superbike, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Laverty moves back to Tyco, and I think, if I'm really honest, I like Michael, but he's lucky to be still in the Superbike class. After the season he had last year, he's lucky to be in the Superbike class on a good bike, which he is. So really pleased for him. Tommy Bridewell, is back again. You know, he's going to be there. I would have said that he was probably on maybe the sort of down slope of his career. Again, I don't want to be cruel because I like Tommy. However, he's tested really, really well at a couple of places, and I've been really impressed with his times, and therefore the spec of the bike, I think it's going to be good.
Sure. And we've got Brooks, of course.
Yeah.
He's really strong.
Yeah, Brooks has moved over to the McCallum squad from tag racing last year. I mean, he finished. A lot of people actually don't remember that he finished second
in the
last
championship,
year.
not third. Yeah.
Everyone was seen shaking Haslam, but the DNF.
And it was so close.
It was so close, and that was on a he switched to McCallum's bike this year, but that's going to have a bit more factory support. He believes, and everyone, that's regarded as a factory team. And in going in the opposite direction, obviously, is James Ellison, and I think he'll have a really good season this year. You know, there's rumours it's his last season before he goes back to USA.
Yeah.
And he's got some unfinished business in BSB, and I think he'll do really well.
I really hope that James Ellison has a good season, because I think he deserves it, and I think he's good enough. He's had a lot of bad luck over, every single one of his seasons he's ever raced. He's always had something, generally not his fault. And Brooks, couldn't agree more. I think he's probably going to be on, I don't want to do a disservice to the Anvil tag team. However, I think the McCann's bike is probably going to be a little bit better spec, probably a little bit better in terms of team structure, and for me, Brooks starts as one of the favourites. In fact, with 2 rounds to go last year, I thought he's going to nick this.
Yeah.
I really thought he would.
There was a couple of rounds last year where he was, leading convincingly in the race, but he just kept pushing because he was saying that he wanted to be so prepared that if he, it come down to a battle with him,
then he could do it.
That he could do it.
Yeah.
So this season, if he, just knocks them sort of results out and gets them finishes, he'll be there or thereabouts.
I was going to say just 2 other movers. One we've already spoken about, Brad Ray. He moves up to the full Suzuki squad, doesn't he?
Yeah, field-based Suzuki. Yeah.
And what kind of difference is that going to make to his bike?
Probably a bit better spec. I know for a fact that the build-based crew have been out in Japan. Some of the mechanics and Stuart Hickins been out. They're getting some real decent help from Suzuki now through Yoshimura. So they're definitely planning for them to have a better bike underneath Brad and Coops this year.
And speaking of the Hawk Racing guys, Taylor McKenzie moves from there to Motor Rubino.
I think that's a really good move for him. I think last year he was obviously on the Bennetts Suzuki, and now he's moved onto the Ducati. And from what he's been saying at testing, he's really happy. And I think the one-man sort of setup team will really suit him well. He's had 2 previous seasons in Superbike class, but I think actually, really having the time to sit down with these crew chiefs that he'll have this year and learn the Superbike. And let's not forget, in 2016 he was Superstock 1000 champion, and he was superb that year.
Dominant.
Bit of confidence and
the
stuff.
2 of them were dominant. Yeah.
And what I love about Taylor is we done a track day at Silverstone it was a Suzuki track day, and the weather was pretty miserable, and Suzuki brought along some bikes that were just from the local dealership. And he just went out in every session, just could not stop riding the bikes. And I thought that was a real testament to the sort of guy he is. If he just loves riding his bike.
Yeah.
If he can do that, then and he'll have a good season if he can just.
I think he needs a good season.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to be cruel, but he needs a good season and just needs to prove himself, because he never really has in the Superbike class. Whether you think his bikes have just been up to the task or not, he definitely needs a good season. But you're dead right, his work ethic is second to none. He comes and instructs on some of my training days. Yeah. Never stops. Real good worker.
He is.
And what about the new guys? So let's carry on with the McKenzie theme.
Taz.
Yeah. He's sort of first of the young guns coming in.
Yeah. And it's a big step.
Yeah.
That's a big step. I think he's ready for it. I'm a firm believer in getting chucked in at the deep end. He's good. I don't think he's shown his true. He definitely didn't show his true potential in Moto 2. I think they had a lot of issues. The bike is a completely different thing to ride. He said he was struggling with getting the thing into the corners. He had a lot more grip at the front end of Moto 2. Plus, he wasn't that far off. It was, it wasn't like it was 3 seconds a lap. It was, a second a lap. But it's just that tight. Big step though. Big step for the fella.
Yeah. He's he knows all the circuits and he knows the team, so it's just a matter of adapting to that superbike. And in the testing, his times are thereabouts. So it'll just be a matter of learning the superbike on these circuits that he's going to be revisiting.
Yep.
So.
And what other new young faces do we have?
We've got Carl Ride. He's stepping up into the superbike class. He was in World Supersport last year. He actually had a wild card at the final round of Brands Hatch with FS3 Racing. So he's jumped on a superbike recently, and he seems to be putting a lot of laps out in Spain. So come the first round, he should be thereabouts. He's with a team that he's been previously. I think he's won championships with before.
Yeah.
So he liked the team, and I think with Ride, he sees the likes of Dixon and Ray, the guys that he was racing back.
Came through the mini bike all the way through. He's raced together with Brad Ray his whole career, his whole life. From the 5.
So he almost thinks, as a natural racer would think, I'm just as good as, if not better than these guys around me. So he's going to be wanting to be up there and expecting to be up there.
I think loads of talent, as Kyle. I think he needs to show it. I think he lost a bit of art last year. He didn't really like the way the Kawasaki felt. Never felt like he got as much out of it as what he ever got out of an R6 Yamaha. But he really needs. It's a career that's stalled. Really, for me, is Kyle, and that upsets us all because he is such a talent, and I do believe he has got the talent of somebody like Brad Ray, but he needs to show it. You're dead right. He's worked with the team before. Craig Fitzpatrick seems to know how to get the best out of him. We'll see.
Good. Sylvain Barrier on the BM.
Yeah, it's a bit of an unknown with Sylvain. I mean, from some of the pictures we've seen of him testing, he's getting used to the BMW. He's got it in all sorts of shapes and sizes coming out of the corners. So I think that's the lack of traction control that he's
used to now. Yeah, he's used to traction control now.
So it's just a matter of learning the tracks. I know he's done I think it was a few laps of Bolton Park with Chris Walker on a rainy November day last year, so not his best insight into.
I think you're dead right. I think he'll struggle with the circuits, if anything. Like I've mentioned before, what we have here that they don't have anywhere else in any championship is just a massive diversity of shapes, sizes, speeds, width. Everything's different. Every single circuit's different to any other, and some of them take a little bit of getting your head around. It's all right for us. We've raced at Cadwell and at Bolton Park and Nokia 11. I've raced years and years. You grew up with it. Him not so. And for some people in his position coming to this championship, especially when it's so competitive as it is, that's going to be his biggest thing. But there's people done it. Greg Levier came and flipping, did the first lap on a Friday and he's won by Sunday. It can be done. Can be done. And he's a good rider. He's still on, and a good kid as well.
Good stuff. Who else we got? Mason Orr, Gino Ray.
Yeah, Gino Ray, good rider, good hard rider. I don't think we've seen the best of him. Really been on substandard bikes in World Supersport. I rate him, certainly on a Supersport bike I rate him. I think he's definitely good enough to come back and win a British Supersport Championship, but this is a step up for him. But I know him quite well, Gino, and he's the type who isn't going to be frightened of it. He's going to have a go at it. He's not going to be, I'm not, don't want to ride a superbike. He will want to ride it. He will want to win.
Yeah, we caught up with him recently, actually, and that confidence just I can instantly tell that he's not frightened of anyone. He's going to from the first round be there or thereabouts, I think. But I think what he might need to do is just look at obviously the bigger picture. Really, I think he's probably going to go out and get some stamp his mark essentially. He wants to let people know that he's about, and expect some fireworks, I say, from where he played this year.
I'd say that, then Mason Law. Mason again comes with a really good pedigree. He's never been slow in anything he's ever done, whether it be motocross, whether it be mini bike racing, stock 6. He has been Kawasaki Cup before that. He did something. Right. Always been quick, always been near the front, and really impressed me last year on Stock Down, the way he was. He again, not frightened, and he'll have a little bit of a go. And he really does believe in himself.
And he's got a Kawasaki.
Yeah.
WD-40, right?
Yeah.
Who else have we missed?
And then Carl
Phillips.
Yeah. He's a bit of an unknown, really. He jumped on the Stock 1000 bike last year. He was Michael Dunlop's not protege, but Michael Dunlop, sees something in him. He's supported him in some respects, and he's on the Gearlink Kawasaki this year, and he'll might take a little bit of getting used to just his superbike power and that, but he'd like to see some good results.
Typical Irish, he'll be rock hard as well. He'll be hard as nails, and he won't be frightened of it, and he'll get stuck in because he's that kind of rider.
And we've got 2 returnees as well in Buchan and Cooper from Supersport. Well, the first 2, weren't they? One in the second place in the Superstock 1000 class, and they'll bring their A game.
Yeah, no. Coops, I know both really well, but I know Coops particularly well. He comes instructing for me as well. Again, brilliant instructor, work ethic. He just grasps that kid, and he's on a bike every single day of his life. Yeah. He's building bikes. He's on flat track stuff. He builds mini bikes and races them on kart circuits. He never ever stops. Rides trials pretty well. In that respect, he's gonna relish his chance. But I really think that this is his last go at Superbike, and I think he knows that. Whether that's going to mean he can raise his game or not, I don't know. But Coops I hate this to sound awful, but Superbike class, you can't help thinking he's just a little bit of a journeyman. But he is a journeyman who, if you get a little bit of wet conditions and a bit of a tyre choice issue, or he's always that thinker that'll get the best out of a set of situations. And because of that, he has had Superbike wins, and I wouldn't put it past him this year, but I think it'll take something fairly special for him to end up in the Showdown.
He's got the experience, and he knows the team, and he knows the bike.
That's it. He'll have the second year on the new Suzuki GSXR, and I think he's taken his crew chief over as well from that series. So he's I think his head's in a good place. I think he feels like he should belong in that Superbike class, and I think him and Buchan, they've had some big battles last year, and I can see them doing the same this year. I think they'll have some,
Yeah, I think so. Danny Buchan, big lad, really suits a Superbike when you see him on it. Didn't have the best run at it he's had a couple of goes at Superbike and not really shown the potential that I know he's got. He's quick. I mean, you look at some of his stock thou times, not a particularly quick stock thou either.
Yeah.
When you looked at it compared to a BM, it wasn't the quickest bike out there. His times are really impressive. If we can get the best out of a Superbike, I think he's got potential.
Good. Let's move on. We're kind of introduced to all the new riders now, which is great. So we kind of know who's doing battle. They've been out in Spain over the last couple of weeks doing some testing. It's been a bit wet. It's been a bit dry. They've been to a few different circuits. We take the times with a pinch of salt because, of course, it's their own time.
Because everybody lies.
Yeah. But you're judging on what we've seen so far and who's said what and who's done the most lap. Is there anything that stands out for either of you?
Ido's been quick. Really like Christian Iden. We've not really spoke about him, but he's with the same team. He loves that bike. The bike's frustrating for him. He says it's not like a normal bike where you get a sort of benchmark of sort of data and you go to the next circuit and it's just a tweak here, tweak there. So you need to redesign the bike, almost develop it for each circuit, which is really frustrating sometimes. But I rate Christian. I really don't think we've seen the best of him, and he has been quick just about every one.
I mean, just at the final round, he seemed to find something with that Tyco BMW. I don't know what it was, and he's very coy. He's not saying what it was, but he was fast at that final round. And if he can carry that into Donington Park, and
but he started the season very. He's had starts to seasons, but he's actually led the championship a couple of 3 rounds in. He's that good.
Yeah.
But I think with him, it's getting the bike that he's capable of riding at every circuit.
And he was unlucky last year. He had a big accident at Knock Hill and cut all of his arm up, and he got infected, so he couldn't ride a few rounds, and he just missed out on the Showdown. So if he eliminates that this year,
good riders. Christian.
Anything else that stands out from testing?
Usual suspects for me. Jake's pretty quick. I've spent a bit of time with him this winter. We've done a bit of trials in, a bit of enduro riding. He's really confident. He says he's starting this season unbelievably fit. He's flipping, eating right. He's like they all are. The only ones that are all flipping down the gym the whole time. He says he's never started as confident and as fit as what he is. He would be disappointed with anything less than a Showdown place. He really thinks he can win a championship. He's a confident lad, but not in a cocky way. He's just confident.
Right, let's move on. It's time to put your money where your mouth is. Neve, I'm going to start with you. Give me your top 6, and you don't have to get it in order. I'm happy with just a random 6.
These are going to be etched up then, and you're going to bring these back up in the season. So I've gone for Brooks, Byrne, Haslam. I think them top 3 are going to be, They're going to be there or thereabouts. And then I've gone for Linfoot, Iden and Ellison. Now, Linfoot in particular, I want to just touch on him. I think last year he had found something with that Honda in the wet. And I think it was at Silverstone. He's done an interview and he said, my first win would come when I least expected it. Or this is what someone told him. And it was that weekend. You know, he was, I think he was down on the ground in almost every session prior to the race, and he never expected to win that race. But since then, you know, his confidence, just that ability, just knowing like I can win a BSB race now, because it was eluded him in previous seasons. And it's going to be the second year of that Honda now, and I think he'll be in there.
Could not put that better himself.
Yeah, because he went 2, didn't he, and almost 3.
Yeah,
I've
I've known Dan a long time, and all he's ever been short of in the Superbike class is a little bit of self-belief. Don't matter how many times he tells you, yeah, I'm confident and we've got this and that, you just knew there's a little voice back there going, oh, I'm not sure. I really do feel he's got that now. There's no question, on his day, if the bike's how he wants it, he's fast. I mean, some of his lap records stood for, he did amazing things on 125s, his lap record stood for quite a long time. So fast man.
Mr. Whitham, your 6?
You main 3, obviously you've got Brooks. I probably starts favourite for me, and I don't know why. I just
I've got him.
I think Brooks starts as my favourite. I think he's got a better bike. Haslam and Shaky, they're your 3 kind of definites, barring injuries or daft things happening. They're your 3 definites in Showdown. The last 3 places in the Showdown, pull names out of a bucket for about 15 riders. Yeah. Hickman, you don't want to do anybody a disservice. It's really difficult to choose because you think you're 3, then you think, oh, hang on, but yeah.
That's what I've been doing.
I think Iden, given a decent season and staying injury free, I think Iden. I'm going to go. I would go Linfoot, but you've already said that. I don't want to just copy yours. So I would say maybe Halloran. I like. I like Halloran. Good, steady rider. Don't fall off a lot, and I think that might just give him a Showdown place. And then I'm gonna go with Jake Dixon.
Good.
Got it out of him. I didn't think we'd get it out
of him. I didn't think so. Good on you. I guess the point is, though, all things being equal, staying injury-free, mechanical breakdown.
Oh, like a change for speed.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the lovely thing about BSB, especially the Superbike class now. You can't call it. Impossible.
Yeah. Which is great.
Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I've got to say that it's going to be so easy this year to end up a midfield man when you don't deserve it. Really is. It's a hideous championship that way. Really unforgiving. You can miss a gear and go back 5 places. It's ridiculously competitive.
I remember there was a story earlier, I think it was the first round, and Gintoli, it was obviously his first introduction back to the Superbike class, and he come into the media centre after the race, and they said, how did it go? He said it was crazy. He said, I was going into Paddockville Bend and there was 2 or 3 riders overtaking me around the outside.
Yeah.
And we were like, welcome back to BSB. That is what it's like. You know, there's from the outset, these guys, and you know, they're so hungry to get that race win and then points in the back.
I mean, I'm a firm believer in the fact that at any given championship, high-profile championship, the men at the front are going about as fast as you can go on that day on that bike on those tyres.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it where there's probably 16 or 17 riders who potentially could finish on a rostrum. It's as competitive as I've ever seen a championship.
That's what makes it so great. Yeah. Let's move on to the support classes.
Yep.
Because it's fair to give them all a shout. And there's been a bit of a mix-up in there as well. There's some new classes, some new rules, some new people as well. Let's start with Super Stock 1000. Who's new, first of all?
Stock 1000, we've got Alistair Seeley as a big name going back to that class, right. I think. So he's ridden the class before, he's won in the class before, and Alistair's not slow on anything. He's just, I thought he rode a Superbike reasonably well as well. On his day. So he's definitely going to be a front runner in my opinion. We've got Lee Bob Jackson, again going the same way from Superbike into Superstock. Don't discount Lee Bob. He's totally the opposite as somebody like Jake Dixon. Doesn't say a lot, don't talk the talk, but just gets on with it. And he's quite lad, but fast lad. And I think he'll be somewhere near the front of that.
Well, just at Cadwell, I mean, he broke the lap record.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's got the pace when everything's right.
Keith Farmer starts as my favourite.
Keith Farmer, he's returning this year. Obviously won the Supersport title just last year.
Yeah, but he's going to have a good bike. He's
He's
going to
gonna
have a
have a
really
bike.
good bike this year.
Yeah, he'll be-
That Tyco bike's going to be quick.
Nice. Well, Billy
Um,
McConnell's going, right? He's going back.
Yeah, McConnell,
Yeah.
and I think McConnell will suit that class as well. Big, strong kind of lad. I think Billy will like the super stock class.
And then I think Chrissy Rouse, he was thereabouts last year. Jordan Weaving's got second year in the Superstock. Tom Ward as well. He's stepping up from the 600s. He's a bit unknown, isn't he?
Yeah, Tom's lovely. Big sort of fop head. Looks more like a surfer than he does a motorbike racer, but he's lovely.
Yeah.
Really nice. And I think he'll find it. I think he'll be all right.
Yeah.
I think he'll be all right. But I think it's a fair step to him. Maybe not initially in the season, but I think he'll be thereabouts come mid-season.
Well, he's with the Housel team, and so he might get some tips from Tommy, or they'll support him.
Would you want some tips off?
Well, you know, nothing like the thousands,
You won't
so-
want any tips on life in general, would you, off Tommy? That'd do it.
What about Supersport 600? Who are the key men there?
In Supersport,
Yeah.
Kennedy, that's my favourite. There's going to be a raft of Yamahas. It's now almost proven, even though there's not a lot of difference in terms of geometry and weight distribution and all the rest of it to the outgoing R6 model. The new R6, well, it's been out a year, it's proven to be a big improvement. I think the championship's going to be won by one of them. But the most interesting thing about the super sport class is the way the class structure works now. You've got super sport as it always was. There's going to be more Yamahas than anything else. And I think Jack Kennedy on the Appleyard's Yamaha starts as favourite for me. But then you've got this GP2, which essentially is a load of old MotoGP Moto 2 bikes shifted across. They've got Honda engines. They'll be joined by things that homemade kind of prototypey type things that you can go in with any engine.
Yeah.
But limited to super stock engines. You're getting this?
Yeah.
and then there's also going to be full-on super stock sixes that the lads get invited across if they're successful in super stock six. So there's actually three classes within it. That's how I see it anyway, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real mishmash this year. You're going to be obviously going for your own championships and then suddenly have a Moto 2 bike sort of.
What you've got is a super sport bike will have about 10 or 12 brake horsepower more than the Moto 2 bikes. They're set at about 122 bhp. But they've got slicks, they're lighter, they've got stiffer chassis. So it's going to be a real interesting thing. I think there's only about 6 or 7 of them on the grid. Ryan Sachs will be at RS Racing's running 2.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
They look lovely, don't they?
Oh God, stunning! You've got to pick it up and take it and put it in your house. They are that nice and that small and compact and business-like. And he knows how to run them as well. In fact, running the engines is a doddle because they last all year. They only got 122 horse. But I think we're going to see. I think this is almost a taste a year for those GP2 bikes, which is what we've got to call them. We can't call them Moto 2 through copyright. It's GP2. But I think at the end of this year, with Moto 2 swapping to Triumph engines, I think there's going to be a ton. Because you can't just put a Triumph engine where there's a Honda engine's bin. It's a new bike.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be loads of stuff coming through, speed ups and Calixes and all sorts. So I think we'll see a lot more than 7 on the grid next year. I think we'll see nearly full grid.
Impressive.
Yeah,
Something to
but
look forward to.
I think it's great for young British talent. I think it's brilliant because a lot of riders, when they do get chucked in the deep end in the MotoGP series, there's a hell of a lot more to do in terms of chassis setup and stuff. And if they can do that from a younger age and start learning these, how to set these bikes up, then it's going to stand us in good stead.
Essentially now there's a little bit of a step. However small, there is a little bit of a stepping stone where there was just a hole before.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned the words British and talent. You didn't say cup. Tell me about that championship though.
Yeah, a little bit off my radar at the minute, I've got to say. We know who's qualified for it because we spoke to them last year. Essentially, they came out of the Helm Motorstar Championship, and there's some decent lads in it.
Yeah, and they're taking it very seriously. I saw MotoGP sort of Facebook and all their social stuff. They're covering it. They're getting some good exposure for the class. So.
And what is good is the fact they're on standard bikes.
Yeah.
So
the racing be close.
The Moto 3 class or the Helm Motorstar class has been a very uneven playing field. It really has. The more money you spend, the faster the bike you get.
So that should be.
Yeah. So it'll work, I think.
All right, so there's one more support class we need to talk about. Supersport 300. New for this year?
Yeah, new in base for this year. It ran at World Superbike, all the World Superbike, European World Superbike meetings last year. Nobody really knew how to take it. It was a raging success, is what it was. The racing was unbelievable.
Really?
Because these things are only about 42 or 43 horsepower. You can run fairly competitively. You can run virtually any bike. So there's a Yamaha R3, there's a Kawasaki 300, there's a Honda 500
Yeah.
that has to carry a bit of a weight
CR5.
penalty.
Yeah.
There's a KTM 390 single
Yeah.
that seemed competitive, but they all seemed competitive. It seemed like everybody was on a good bike. They all slipstreamed each other. Somewhere when you got a particular race was, well, they were all good, but I particularly remember Portimao with that big long straight, and there was maybe 8 or 10 went over the line together at the end. It was a cracking class. I think it'll really work at BSB, and we'll just wait to see what happens. It'll be good, exciting racing with that.
Good.
And cheap racing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think the grid will be full because it's affordable racing and competitive racing, and I think it'll get your name out there because it's a highly competitive class. So, albeit we have the Motorstar series as well, but I think there's going to be a lot of tension on the Supersport 300 class this year. So it could get a lot more TV coverage. And
the only slight downside for me would be that when you get them, if you get them somewhere like Knockhill, it's going to be the bike's going to go up reasonably quick. But you get them somewhere like Silverstone and Thruxton, well, 42 horsepower then starts to look a bit pedestrian. But the good thing about that is that it's the bigger, more wide open circuits where they look a bit slower. That slipstream is important. So it's going to be good stuff.
It's good techniques to learn as well.
Of course,
for the
of
children,
course, yeah.
the riders coming through. And as far as the bikes that are eligible, there's a new Kawasaki for this year, it's an Indy 400. Do you think that'll be the bike to have as a result?
I actually don't know what. There's clearly going to have to be some kind of levelling of some kind of handicapping system like there is with the Honda. But what they have done, certainly World Superbike at those meetings with the European rounds, is the whatever they all talk about algorithms now, and it's all worked out with algorithms. So whatever Scott has done with Scott Smart has done with the rules, it really worked.
You've got to be good at maths.
Honda won some, Kawasaki won some, and Yamaha won some, and the KTM ran really strong in a couple of rounds, but they didn't run for the full championship. So I think we've got at least 4 manufacturers with a reasonable chance.
Well, with Superbike looking like another epic year, and these support classes are fantastic as well. It sounds like we're going to have a real treat.
Yeah.
So if you haven't yet got your tickets for round 1 at Donington Park at Easter weekend, then get them sorted. But in the meantime, boys, thanks very much for joining us. Until the next time, Bike Social Full Chat.